Hello, it's episode 50. Hello, and welcome back. This episode we're going to be going back to the electrical topic, even though I said I'd finished that. And we're going to be wiring in one of these, which is the Motogadget Breakout Box. It's the Type A, which is the smaller of the two, and it's pretty best if you take a close look at it on the bench. So this is a very small bit of kit, very basic. Just contains a set of connectors and yeah, and let me tell you what it's for. In fact, let me show you what it's for. Okay, let's see how this works. So with the current setup I've got, those lights that come on when you start the bike don't come on when you operate the other items, like the indicators. So the indicator's flashing, but there's no indicator flashing icon on there. Similarly, if I put the high beam on, there's no high beam indicator coming up in my Motorscope Pro. So the breakout box, this connects all those outputs, your indicators, your high beam, plus others, and sends them via the orange wire on the I'll show you. Okay, on here there was an orange wire which we said was not used. Okay, the orange wire is the input sender thing that tells the Motorscope Pro what's going on. Are the lights on, indicators on, all that kind of stuff. So the little breakout box needs to sit in here on my diagram, get connected to some of these output wires that we're going to use it for, and send that signal to the orange wire. The problem I've got is the orange wire is buried somewhere in a bunch of heat shrink, so I'm going to dig that out. Okay, just because of the close up. So the indicator lights along the bottom here, there's two on either side. If I start it up, you'll see green, blue, orange and red. Those are the indicator lights that I want to get to work. Let's go. Okay, the way this works is actually pretty simple. On the back, you can see, if we can focus on there, you've got a set of inputs. So if I had a fuel indicator, it'd go in the top one. There is an oil pressure actually on this bike, which I must find. Turn left and right, high beam are the obvious ones. They're straight out of the M unit. Neutral switch goes on there. Aero one, I'm not sure what that one's for. The bus is the orange wire that goes to the Motorscope Pro. That's a sender. Then you've got power. You've got a 12 volt here, if you can kind of read that, and then an earth. So it's actually quite a simple thing to set up. You've just got to connect the right cables, the right wires to the right hole, and it should work. How easy is that? Okay, I've dug around, and there's me cable. They're my three unused cables off the Motorscope, and it's the orange one. So that's a very thin wire. So I'm just going to attach that to a thicker wire so I can put a spade connector on the end of it. So there's my orange wire, input wire to the Motorscope, re-terminated with a spade connector on the end. Cool. Okay, taking our latest version, and this is the one with the number plate light added to it from Augs 1. Those of you remember that one. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to put our little box here. Okay, so I'm going to take the 12 volt feed from aux 1 actually, so the same one as the number plate light, so that's basically switched with the ignition. I'm going to earth it, obviously, yeah, and then it's a really simple question of the orange, which I'll put up here. The orange goes to bus on here. Can you see bus? So the orange goes to bus. Okay, and then the easy ones to do are the turns left and right and the high beam. And all I'll do is I will just attach those various cables. Where are we? High beam is there, and left and right are there and there. So I'm just going to do that. That's my first phase. Okay, then I'm going to separately, because it's not part of this loom here, is I want to try and get the oil pressure switch and the neutral light to work, and they're on a separate circuit, which I'll come back to in a bit. Right, I've been trying to work out how to do these fixings. They're quite complicated. Well, it's on such a small scale, so I'm using, you know, watchmaker's screwdrivers. And anyway, the way this works is, yes, we were supplied with these things, which are tiny little tubes, yeah, and those tubes fit in those holes like so, with a wire in. So what you've got to do is you've got to, if I can get this to focus, you've got to basically get that tube into the wire, and I'm soldering them on as well. You've got to use really thin wire, so in some cases I'm having to take a couple of strands out like this one. So that's the way to do it. It's pretty hard, I tell you. Fiddly, anyway. This is the earth one, this. So you undo that. There's me earth one. That needs to, it's not easy, you know. Go in there. Like that. Yeah, that isn't easy. Right, so I'm going to do the same now for the left, right and high beam. Okay, so now I've terminated my wires. It's time to push them into the relevant holes on this bugger. Okay, so now it's a question of matching these wires up with their respective colleagues. So I'll actually start off with that one, which is the turn indicator. Done such a good job with these. There you go. Right, so yellow goes on there. And we decide to reterminate these, you know. whoops, yellow. It's in there. Next is white, which is next door. And pop the white back in their hole. That's good. Green is main beam. And then finally, red ignition, and I'm going to do that to the aux 1 because that's now switched with ignition following the addition of our number plate light. Okay, oh sorry, yes, and the orange, I've put the spade connector and I've attached that to the orange wire. Right, let's test that out. So, indicators. Look at that. That works. Other indicator. That works as well. Main beam. Main beam works as well. Fantastic. That absolutely works. Okay, next we said we were going to try and work on those other 2 remaining options on the breakout box, and those are the neutral switch and the oil pressure switch. Now then, I've got my original loom from the bike, and I need to kind of work out how it goes. So, and you'll like this. If I go over to my OEM wiring diagram, it's got both these 2 things on the same bit of wire. So we've got, I don't know if you can make that out, it's a brown and a kind of a brown and a black dashed, or brown and black striped is the neutral switch, and there's a brown and a green striped which is the oil switch, and then they're both earthed. So, given that on this connector, if you can see that one's brown and green, and that one's brown and black. So, that's one end of it. Then over here, I've got that's obviously for the neutral switch, because there's 2 terminals on that on the bike. That's obviously the oil pressure switch. Well, because it's green and brown for a start, and there's only got 1 terminal. Of course, that's earthed on the engine, and then there's an earthed terminal on there as well. Now, the only thing is, this is a fiddly bugger to put back on the bike from where it is now. So I'm going to spare you that wrestle, and I'm going to attach this to the bike, and then all I've got to do then is connect those to the breakout box. So literally it's that to a switch earthed, that to a switch earthed, one's oil pressure, one's neutral light switch. Okay, I've got the neutral switch and oil pressure switch attached. I've just jury rigged it for the time being. As you can see, I've just stuck wires in the end of the connector, and that's my earth strap. Oh, that's my earth strap just earthed on there, just to test it out really. So let's have a quick look. So if are we in gear? Right, we're in neutral right now, so turn that on. Right, that's the neutral light which has come on, which is good. Now if I put it in gear, I'll try and do this one-handed. again. There you go, that's gone in gear. Awesome. And then back in neutral. Yes. Right, that actually works, so I'll properly plumb it in now. Let me talk you through then this this wiring diagram, which, by the way, there'll be a link to this diagram in the comments below the video text. I've got a new way of showing you wiring diagrams. Let me try this out on you. Right, let's start where we left off last time, which was version 5 of the wiring diagram. This is the one that you could download on the link on the last episode. And then let's take away all of the stuff that we're not going to be using on this conversation. Gives us a cleaner sort of sheet to work with. And let's add in the breakout box. And of course, the first thing we did was we had the positive, which went to aux 1 on the M unit, and we earthed it. Then we connected the indicators first, left and right, followed by the high beam, and then we connected the breakout box via the orange wire to the Motoscope Pro. And we did our first test then, if you recall. Then we've added then the OEM switches back in, starting with the neutral switch, which we've tested, and the oil pressure switch, which we haven't actually. Okay, there you go. Let's add back in the rest of the wiring diagram, giving us version 6. And I will post a link for this for you to download on the bottom of this video. Well, I hope you found that useful. Interestingly, I couldn't find any other entries for the breakout box on YouTube, so hopefully that will be useful for people who have considered installing one, wondered how it worked, etc. But that's great. Certainly in the UK, the rules are for the MOT test that unless if you can see your indicators flashing, you don't need an indicator light on the dash, which you can on mine. But I think for completeness sake, I think it's good to have those indicator lights, especially neutral actually, which is the big one. Oh, and note to self, neutral light switches, they are hard to get at on these bikes. So if you're going to attach your electrics to it, do it before you put the gearbox back on. Top tip. Okay, hope you liked it. Please like, subscribe, comments, questions, all that good stuff. Thank you very much, and I shall see you another time. Thank you.